Howdy folks, this here is the patriotic Christian cowboy coming at you. My post yesterday had a few glitches in it. Mainly it chopped off a little bit at the end of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and redo. Now, I don't write things down, so I do it off the cuff. But anyway, what I'm going to talk to you about today is I'm going to do a little bit on the hat issue. And again, a lot of this was inspired by Chad Prather and his misuse of the cowboy hat. Now, there's two kinds of hats. You'll notice I am wearing my hat today because I'm outside. There's two kinds of hats. There's a straw hat that's designed to be worn in the summertime, usually from the Memorial Day weekend through the Labor Day weekend. And between Labor Day and Memorial Day, you wear a felt hat. Now, the reason for that is because a felt hat holds in the heat and keeps out the cold. The straw hat lets the cold in. In fact, you'll notice mine's got some vents on the side, even on both sides there. Now, Chad Prather, on one of his videos, I believe the title of it was "What Type Are You?" Well, Chad was sitting there in his truck with his hat on. That's perfectly proper to do that. But he gets points off because there behind him in the seat of his truck was a straw hat. He was wearing his felt. He had a straw hat sitting like this. When you lay a hat down, you set your hat like this. Brim down. Don't be a clown. Keep that brim down. Now, there are certain times that you don't want to wear a hat. Anytime you go into a building, hat comes off. Anytime that the flag is passing in a parade, hat comes off and over the heart. Anytime you're at a funeral, hat off over the heart when the hearse goes by or when a casket is being taken past you. Now, because I'm outside, I can put my hat back on. Other times that the hat comes off are when you're howdying a lady. Gentlemen, do not take your hat off or even tip your hat for a man. Unless you're one of them brokeback mountain cowboys. And they ain't real cowboys. They kind of like Chad Prather. They play cowboy. You know, he ain't a real cowboy. He plays one on the videos. Because if he was a real cowboy, he'd know cowboy etiquette when it comes to hats. Now, a couple other things I'm going to touch on. Number one, when you go into a restaurant, if you're sitting at a table, your hat comes off and lays in a chair next to you. Again, brim up, crown down. Now, if there's no way that you can put it, let's say you're in a table with 6 people and there's 6 slots at the table. Well, then you ain't going to have a chair to put your hat on. In that case, it's perfectly acceptable to leave it on your head. Or if you're sitting at the Waffle House and you're at the bar, you leave your hat on. Or if you're at a McDonald's, it doesn't matter if you're at a table there. Of course, if you're at McDonald's, well, I won't even go into that issue. Wendy's is where I'd go, and where I do go quite frequently. But I'm trying to think what else I've left off. Oh, a couple of points about hat care. And first thing I'm going to tell you is, do not, under any conditions, mess with another man's hat. You touch his hat, you're just liable to get tied to a pecan tree and left there for a couple of days so she won't be so tempted to do that again. That is a definite no-no. You do not touch a man's hat. Now, you can comment on a fella's hat by asking him, say, I like that hat. You mind my asking where you got it? Don't ever ask how much you paid for it, though. Just, where'd you get it? Because then, especially with the internet making things so easy nowadays, all you got to do is get on the internet, find the place, and once you find it, you call them up, or you go in and you ask them, hey, I'd like to get me a hat. And then they will tell you the different prices of the hats. Depending on the quality of the hat, the price goes up. Straw hats are always cheaper than felts. And then they have a felt and wool mix. And another thing, gentlemen and ladies, if you're going to wear a hat, don't get one that doesn't fit. Ain't nothing looks stupider than somebody wearing a hat that just plain don't fit. And there's lots of folks that do it. Don't be one of those folks. Get a hat that's sized right for you. Now, if you don't know how to tell if it's sized right, ask somebody at the hat store. And another thing, I know that Walmart carries hats. Don't get your hat at Walmart until you've gone to a reputable hat store and learned how to tell about the size. Because that, just don't go there, okay? Now, another thing that Chad did, bad Chad, what you did is, you went and made a video using a selfie stick, running all through your office and harassing people that were working. Well, in the first place, when a cowboy was working, don't harass him. And that goes for cowgirls too. You hit you some gals in that office that looked like they would probably rather have been doing anything than being interviewed at the time. Well, I'm not getting on to you for that, son. But I tell you one thing. When you go into a building, hat comes off. Now, if you're at an informal affair, then it's acceptable to put the hat back on. If you're at a formal affair, well, in the first place, let me say this. There are some rules that are flexible. For example, formal affair, middle of the summer, you don't wear a straw. You wear your quality hat. Now, for traveling, they have hat boxes you can get. It's a hard shell box that you put your hat in. And it's got a handle on it so you can carry it. If you're going to go on an airliner, which I don't like airliners, folks, so you probably won't catch me on it. But if you're going to go on an airliner, get you a hat box. Because if you're not planning on wearing that hat the whole time, you're gonna need a hat box. Now, with all the baggage requirements nowadays, there's a good chance that they're going to charge you a little extra. But when you got a hat that's over $300 in value, you don't want some airline baggage monkey busting it up for you. Now, I don't like to throw off on them boys, but I've seen the way they handle that luggage. So, if you're going to travel, get you a hat box. And make sure it's a good one. Now, if you've got an inexpensive, cheap hat, and you're not planning on having it on your head, get you a trash bag. You know, one of them big kind like you put in the kitchen. Get you one of those, stick your hat down in it, and hand carry it. That way, you're responsible for it. That's usually the best way to handle a summer hat because, let's face it, like I said, the straw hats are cheaper. And it's a lot easier to replace a $50 hat than it is a $500 hat. And like I said about sizes, they got sizes for just about any head size. I guarantee they can even fit me. Of course, if you go into a hat store and want to have some fun out of them, tell them you got a friend that wears an 8 1/4 extra long oval and ask them if they carry it. They'll tell you they don't. There's only a very few places I can get a hat. I have to get mine custom made. Now, I've found 2 places that make them my size, and I guarantee if they make it my size, they'll make it your size. Because I guarantee there ain't too many people got a head size like mine. But Catalina Hatters out of Bryan College Station, Texas. That's... Hang on, folks. Okay, I'm just going to ignore that for now. Y'all ignore my phone. What I was saying, Catalina Hatters is one, and the other is Peters Brothers out of Fort Worth, Texas. Yes, I know I'm advertising for 2 Texas companies, but that's okay, because I'll tell you something. I'm a Texan through and through. In fact, right now, I'm sitting out here in my wheelchair, and on the footplate of my wheelchair, I've got a bag of Texas soil. So no matter where I am, I always speak to you from Texas. So there was a bunch of other stuff that I said on the other video. I really can't remember everything I covered. So if any of you have got any questions, though, feel free to text me and ask, and I'll be glad to answer your questions. But seeing as how I can't think anything else, and seeing as how I am going to be doing another message later today on the Code of the West, I reckon I'll just sign off with, may your horse never stumble, may your cinch never break, may your belly never grumble, and may your heart never ache. This is the Patriotic Christian Cowboy, signing off. Yeah!